This is Daniel with Dell and Artie, and I'm happy to be guest designing for WU Embossing Powders again this week and up on their YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be using Oyster Glint's embossing powder to create a stenciled background and an embossed focal point for the card. For today's project, I'm using Lined U dies from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to cut them out using two different colors of cardstock, one navy and one white. This is Neenah Solar White here that I've just cut out. And I have my craft knife in my hand because as I peel out some of the intricate details of this die, I had to do some surgery. But I finally got it all out and started to press my die cut into my WU embossing ink pad because I'm going to do the same thing as I did last time and emboss this die cut, all three pieces. But this time I'm not going to use a mixed colored embossing powder. I'm going to use Oyster Glint's, which is this translucent kind of creamy color embossing powder. And it provides for a really nice tone-on-tone look for the background we're going to do soon. But I wanted to match it up with these letters in the middle for the focal point. So here I am melting each one. And now I'm taking out my mod stripe stencil from Simon Says Stamp, and I fixed it up with some Pixie spray so that it could adhere really well to the panel I'm about to ink up. Then laid it over the top after putting on some anti-static powder. And now I'm taping it down to my glass mat. And with a picket fence blender brush, I'm going to add some of this WU embossing ink over the top of this stencil. I'm just going to work it in there really well. I have to hold down some of the parts of this stencil because I don't want them to move up, and I still had a little bit of trouble with them moving, but not too much. You can actually see the end result and how it all works out after I embossed it. And I really like the look this Oyster Glint's embossing powder has on top of white cardstock. So here I'm going to pour out the embossing powder all over the top of this A2 sized panel and then tilt it up with my tweezers and let it pour down the rest of the side of it. And look at that result. You can see some of the lines aren't perfect, so I'm going to use my tweezers and clean it up a bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. Parts of this are going to be covered by the focal point die cuts here in a minute. But I wanted to get them as clean as possible. And now I'm going to hold it down with my tweezers and melt all of this embossing powder with a heat tool. And it comes out nice and shiny and just crisp and perfect. I love the look that this provides. It's a great shiny background. And the lines pair really well with the Lined U die. So here's the shadow die in navy. I have these products all linked in the description box below. And now I'm just going to use some strong liquid adhesive and apply these to the front of this shadow die. I forgot to actually press this down on my glass mat, so you'll see some of the glue squeeze out from underneath it. But it's no worries because the glue I used actually dries clear, so you won't be able to see it too much. On the other two pieces, I'm actually going to apply the glue, and then dab it off onto my glass mat, and then press it onto the shadow die. Now I just have to be careful not to get my panel in the glue. So I'm straightening it up, making sure each of these lined U pieces are centered on the shadow die. I really like the look this provides. It's a very stark, striking look. And now I'm going to use one of my Catherine Pooler blocks to hold that down so that they don't pop up. And now I'm taking out a Tailored Expression Simple Strips background stamp, and I'm going to just use one of the sentiments on there. It says, "You are so loved." And so I'm just going to ink it up with my embossing pad and lay that right over the top of the sentiment that I want and press it down with my fingers a bit. And then take out the WU opaque white embossing powder and melt that with my heat gun. I cleaned it up a bit with my tweezers there, but you'll see that I will only need the "are so loved" portion of this sentiment. And so with my Tim Holtz guillotine trimmer, I'm gonna make a nice thin strip out of this. I like to use my plastic guide there to measure the sides of my strips, and if you can always use a piece of cardstock to push these smaller pieces down in there. I took the U off of the sentiment because we're using the big U as the focal point and part of the sentiment. So I'm just going to adhere this there into the right side of this focal point U. And we are finished with this card. Just going to pop it onto this card base, and it's done. I hope you enjoyed this project with me, and I also hope you'll try out stenciling with your embossing powders. If you haven't subscribed to the WOW YouTube channel yet, what are you waiting for? Click that button, and you can always find me anywhere on all the socials with handle Artie.